Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Farhan, also known as Gunner since 96, and you're watching my Granit Xhaka press conference reaction. That's right. Normally it's MIKEL Arteta press conference reaction, but today, obviously, as a player got an interview, a pretty lengthy one as well, I thought it would be interesting to talk about what Granit Xhaka spoke about. It's always good to get an insight of what's happening in the camp, what's going on inside the player's head. And this definitely gave us a lot of insight. So look, let's get right into it. There were many interesting questions asked to Granit Xhaka about his time at Arsenal, how long he's going to be there, how he's felt that Arteta has helped him, how he is doing in his development, social media abuse. I'm going to give all my reaction to that, so stick around. I've handpicked a few things that I want to talk about. If you want to listen to the full length interview, I'll leave a link down below. You can find it on YouTube. I think the YouTube channel is called ARTETA'S TV. They're really good. They release all the interviews, and Arteta had one done today earlier. I just obviously thought that this will be far more interesting than to talk about Arteta's one. But look, one of the questions asked to Granit Xhaka was, how has Mikel helped you find your best form? He said that the only thing I feel is that I have a lot of confidence from the coach. I am in great physical and mental shape, which is the key for my game. The coach is helping me a lot. Everyone knows he is one of the reasons why I'm still at this club. I have a very good relationship with him. He's helping me day by day on the pitch and outside the pitch. If there's one thing that I got from this interview, is that the players trust Mikel Arteta and the players have belief in what he's trying to achieve. And I got that impression from Granit Xhaka. I got that he has a very close relationship with Arteta. And he said it himself, one of the main reasons why he remains an Arsenal player is because of Arteta. That's so interesting for me, because it gives me the impression that Granit Xhaka isn't at the club for the reason why us fans want him at the club, which is because he loves the club. He's there because the people around him have convinced him that it's worth sticking around, and that the future is going to get brighter, we hope. Obviously, a footballer's dream is to play at the highest level and to win trophies. I'm assuming that Arteta has had that conversation with the majority of the players that were thinking about leaving. And I guess if there's another thing that I learned about this interview from Granit Xhaka, is that he is still very hurt from what happened between him and the fans and what has been happening for a number of years now. There's been strong opinions, strong vocals about the dislike of Granit Xhaka. I'm going to put my hands up and be the first one at the front of the line to say I have given him so much criticism in the past few years. He has been at the top of my list for the player to replace. But this year, he has totally turned it around. Do I think he is still capable and he has the ability to play for Arsenal Football Club? I would still like an improvement. I would still like an upgrade. If we're going to get down to winning trophies, I think Arsenal need to do better than Granit Xhaka. But that's not to say that Granit Xhaka hasn't been an incredible transformation this season. Sitting alongside Partey, even not alongside Partey. I mean, when we lost against City, he was one of our brightest outlets going forward. And he mentions it in the press conference, the ability to see the whole game, the ability to look forward and pass forward. I think that's one thing that Arteta has done really well instilling in these players, is the encouragement to move the ball forward rather than sideways. And that's something that would really frustrate me about Xhaka, is the inability to progress the ball forward. This constant passing it sideways, safe football, always getting himself muddled up into the wrong places in the pitch, you know? And it seemed to me that Granit Xhaka had turned a corner and has really matured in himself. I mean, that's the way that he's sort of conducted himself in this interview. And from the things that he said, it really did seem as if this was a completely different Xhaka that I haven't seen before. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of that question, Granit Xhaka on Mikel Arteta, really, really glowing references. It seems as if that the majority of the players, or most of the players, or if not all of the players, are on the same page, and the club is finally moving forward into the right direction. I hope anyway. And I know I'm going to get a lot of abuse because we're like 11th in the league and we're struggling against Benfica. But if you look at the football, the type of football that the boys are playing compared to what we were playing last year, the football has definitely improved. There was another question, Mikel's confidence in Xhaka and how that's had an impact on his performance. He says that, of course, if someone believes in you, it makes everything easier. But as well, it's down to my work. It's not a surprise that I'm playing under every coach. Maybe you can get away with playing with 2 coaches, but not 4, 5, 6 coaches I have in my career. So that means I'm doing something good. I think I'm a team player. I don't care about myself. I try to help the team. Really interesting answer from Xhaka. It seems as if he's having a dig at the reporters to say that, look, you know, it's not the case that Arteta has put the confidence in me and I'm performing well. I've performed at an adequate level under 4 or 5 coaches. It's not a coincidence that with every coach that's managed this club ever since I've been here, I've been, the heart of that midfield. I think it's a fair response to make. I think he has definitely made a case for himself as to say, look, I am not this terrible player that, fans make out to be, or the things that you write in your papers about me. This is what I will say about Granit Xhaka. I think he's a decent midfielder. I think he can do a job in the middle. I think he is capable to play for the majority of the teams in the Premier League. And I say the majority because I don't think he is an elite player. I don't think he is a very good player. I think he is a very good squad player. I think that if you brought him off the bench, he can do a good job. And unfortunately, the thing that's let down Granit Xhaka is the consistency. He can perform a game very, very well, but then underperform in the next 5 games. But he's changed that a little bit this season. This season, we've seen a little bit of a different Granit Xhaka where it's been more consistent performances. It's been more quality on the pitch as well. I mean, the passing has been getting a lot better, and the vision as well. And I've noticed that. And I think to deny that Arteta hasn't put confidence in him is to deny the fact that Granit Xhaka, hasn't improved. He has improved, and it's no secret that he's improved because Arteta's come into the club and had this effect. I mean, he didn't have the same type of performance under Freddie. He didn't have the same type of performance under Wenger or Emery. All of a sudden, since Arteta's come in, all of a sudden we've seen a far more disciplined Granit Xhaka. There's still that hothead guy in there. There's still the every chance that he's going to get a red card if he gets himself into silly confrontations. And he has. But that's not to say that the baggage that comes with Granit Xhaka hasn't seen a lot more quality and a lot more depth into his game. I think we've seen that. Now, the next few questions are about more to do with him off the pitch. And this next question is really, really interesting. It's a question about playing for Arsenal long term. And he says that, if I'm honest, I saw myself at the club for long term. Of course, you never know what happens in football, what happens with the fans. 1 year ago, nobody thought I'd be sitting here chatting with you guys, but this is football. Everyone knows my contract after this season is 2 more years. I'm very happy at the moment at this club. Let's see what happens. I got a little bit of a mixed message from that. I got that Granit Xhaka is still mending his relationship with the fans, is still mending his relationship with external forces, but things within the club he is happy with. He has a good relationship with the players, he has a good relationship with the coaches, he has a good relationship with all the staff inside of the club, and I think that's what's keeping him. Whether he will stay or not was sort of an open answer. It was left for interpretation, and I think that Granit Xhaka may well be out of the door by the end of the season if relative progress isn't made. And what I mean by that is, if he doesn't feel like he is getting the let's get one thing straight. He's not getting the love from the fans. That's one thing that's gone out the window. And the only thing that's keeping him here is Mikel Arteta's project. If he's not seeing progression in that project, he's going to be more likely to move, because there is nothing left here for him to stay. He's wasting his best years at a club where the fans don't love him. He doesn't feel the love towards the fans, and obviously there is no sense of progression in the short term. And another question is whether the club wants to keep him. Because like I said, I think Arsenal can do a lot better. I think Arsenal can do with an upgrade. And it'll be interesting to see where they stand with Granit Xhaka at the end of the season. But so far, he's performed well, he's improved. And it seems as if he can get some consistency under his belt, he can be a pretty decent midfielder. Has it helped? This is the next question. Has it helped not playing in front of fans? And this question, for me, the answer he gives shows me everything I need to know about the relationship that he has with the fans. He says, not really. I'm not the type of guy who's scared or afraid to play in front of our fans, because I love the club and I respect the people around as well. I wish we could play with the fans because they push us on. Now, the answer wasn't, no, absolutely not. I love the fans. They encourage me to do better. They help me to want to make myself a better player. I want to give back to the fans. I want to make them happy. I want to lift trophies at the club. I want to give them all these happy memories. It was none of that. It was a case of, no, I'm not scared to play in front of the fans. They're the fans of the football club and I respect them. And I just wish that we could have them so they can push us onwards. Again, it was just when you read between the lines, it seemed as if it was a very, very open answer to be interpreted however you want to. And I just got the impression that Granit Xhaka doesn't have love, doesn't feel the love for the fans. That's probably because the majority of the fans that communicate with him send him the most absurd messages. And this leads me on to my final question and the answer that he gave, which was related to receiving abusive messages from season ticket holders. And this is what he had to say. It's a bit of a long one. It's one of many, if I'm honest. If I showed what the others write, I think I'd have to close my social media. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's only about me. I'm the guy on the pitch. It's not my wife. It's not my little one. It's not my family. If you want to criticize someone, there's no problem to criticize me as a person or a player, but don't get the people involved because they have nothing to do with my job. Secondly, I have a lot of help from the club. This is something we speak about very openly. You don't have to keep it to yourself because it's not always easy. The problem is when you lose. When you win, there's no issue. If you lose, everyone hates you. I wish I could meet with the people who write these kind of things, to sit with him and ask him why he's writing these things. What's his feelings? This is not acceptable. That was a very, very powerful response. And in that response, and I think throughout the course of this interview, Granit Xhaka won my respect because I felt like it was a very honest, very raw, very authentic interview. It wasn't filled with media trained answers with, yes, we're trying to train hard and I think the team played well in the first leg and I'm really happy here and let's see what happens, etc., etc. There was bits of that there, but the majority of it, including this one, was very, very honest. And that is what I really took from this interview. And that is what I really appreciate and respect about Granit Xhaka. we all know the leadership qualities that he has. We all know how long he's been there at the club to be at the forefront, to answer questions, to address the media. But this, for me, topped it. And, you know, he's won that respect back from me. Like I said, I will still never forgive him for what he did. I'm not sure who it was against, but when he chucked that shirt on the floor, you know, that for me was it. He should have gone. He should never have been played after that. But to hear the abuse that he's been getting, and, you know, this isn't a secret. He's been getting abuse ever since that game, even probably before that. And it's sickening. It's sickening to think that any fan has the ability, the capability to target someone's family members. I mean, let's forget about that. Just to send abuse to a player that plays for your club is sickening. Absolutely ridiculous. Poor from the fan base. Because as a fan, it says it in the word, a fan supports. A fan is someone who encourages. A fan is someone who supports, who follows, who wants the best for whoever they're a fan of. If you're a fan of Arsenal Football Club, you're a fan of everything that comes with it. You can't be a fan of Arsenal Football Club and not be a fan of Granit Xhaka or Arteta. At the end of the day, they're there. So what can you do? If you disagree with their methods, if you want to criticise, that's absolutely fine. That is what fans should be doing. That is expected. To be happy 365 days of the year is absurd to ask for. And it's understandable when fans get frustrated. It's understandable when fans they reach to that level of frustration where, like, you know, you need to vent your frustration and your anger somewhere. Throw it at the club. Vent your frustration at Arteta. Vent your frustration at Xhaka. Xhaka had a shoddy game. He deserves to be called out for it. Arteta got it wrong with the substitutions. He got it wrong with the tactics. Vent. But do not take it that extra step. Do not start abusing. Do not start getting family members involved. What good do you think is gonna come about that? What do you think by venting frustration and in this kind of way, by abusing players, by swearing, by getting family members involved, by racially abusing players? Do you think you're going to somehow chase them out of the club? That's not how football works, I'm afraid. You are a very, very small fish in a massive pond. These players, when they get abusive message, it's going to get to a point where it will become normalized. And when they see that message, it will just bring a smile on their face and they'll laugh it off. Right now, everyone's in shock and trauma about it, but it will get to us. It will get to a point where if we carry on where we are, it will become normalized. Players will look at these messages and just say, oh, well, it's just another abusive message. Don't really care for it. Then the division between players and fans will become that much more larger. And is that what you want? Is that what you want? As a fan, do you want to be less involved in the game? Do you want that relationship to grow wider until that's it? You have no influence. Right now, we are blessed and privileged to be in an age of social media where we can connect with players, where we can connect with the club, where we can have some form of influence. I strongly believe that Aubameyang signing that contract had a lot to do with the fans urging him on, encouraging him to do that. Had it not been for the fans, he could have gone anywhere else. He could have spent the best years of his, the latter stages of his career at a massive club, earning massive wages. He could have done that if he wanted, but he decided to stay here because he felt that love and that connection from the fans. Do you want that to go away? In the next few years, if this doesn't stop, I'll tell you where we'll be. We'll be sitting in front of cameras, venting our frustration with no one to vent it to. Right now, the club are very well aware of some of the big fan channels like AFTV. They're very well aware of the opinions. Aubameyang's very well aware, you know. He's connected with plenty of fans of the club, from the club. Granit Xhaka will be very aware as well. So what's better, to herald abuse at them or to give constructive criticism alongside with encouragement? I think the latter is more constructive. I think it does more good. I think it helps to put more confidence into these players and get the best out of them. If you don't think they're good enough, fine. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing really other than create a debate about it. Create a conversation. You know? And when I go on social media and I read all these ridiculous messages from fans saying, get the hell out of my club, the sooner he's gone, the better, this, that, and the other. There's just a harsh tone, the unnecessary harsh tone from fans. It doesn't generate any goodness. You can, and look, like I said, I'll go back to saying this. You can be frustrated. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to express yourself. But stop and think before you say whatever you're going to say. Is it going to bring about any good? Is it going to do more damage than good? Because those are the questions that I ask. If you were to hear some of the things that I say to my TV screen when I'm watching football, effing and jeffing and calling this player this name and this player that name, you'd be pretty surprised. But I always think, and I always stop myself whenever I'm expressing my opinions on a public platform where people are going to see. I always question myself: is this going to do any good for the club than it is bad? And how much goodness is this going to have on the club compared to how bad it's going to be for the club? You know, at the end of the day, I call myself a true Arsenal fan because everything I do for this club, whether it be making these videos, whether it be writing a bunch of tweets, whether it be putting up a picture, it's always for the purpose of encouraging our club, encouraging the players that represent and the people that represent our club to do better and to get better. It's not difficult, guys. It really isn't. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't and hit that bell notification to be notified every time I release a video. I'll be releasing one every single day. Tomorrow, I'll be back with a matchday preview, a massive game against Benfica. But look, until then, stay home, stay safe, and please think before you write your messages on social media. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.